This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
The one, the only, Jamie Hinckley. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So this is your second podcast?
Yes.
You
and
nervous?
you of all people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I was super excited to have you on the podcast. The thing is funny, so my podcast is wonderful people living wonderful lives with a hint of business, right? And it's like the most broad term you can pick. It's kind of why I picked that, you know?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this yesterday. I had one of my friends on a podcast named Jeremy Macy, and we
Love him.
the first 20 minutes of it, we just talked about the movie Hook and how it like shaped our lives and
Aw.
how philosophical it is and like
That's
all the little
amazing.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of fun. And so people listen to, I get a lot of feedback from people like, oh, I listen to this podcast and this, and it was cool because I felt like it's the same as me, right? Like I don't feel like I'm that special of a person, right? I just kind of feel like I'm like everybody else. And I think people, when they kind of realize that that's true for everybody, I think even like Joe Rogan, right? I don't think Joe Rogan wakes up every day and he's like, well, I'm Joe Rogan. I'm the greatest podcaster ever. I think he's just like, it's just me. And I want to go shoot animals and eat them. And you know what I mean? I like UFC and, they're just very individual.
Right.
And I like that my podcast is really just highlighting very wonderful people that I like.
Oh, thank you.
And I like when they share that message.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we were talking a little bit earlier. So you grew up, just you and your sister, in the ideal family, right?
The ideal.
Tell me
Rainbows
about
and
it.
butterflies. Dad, working father. Mom stayed home. PTA president. Always there. We came home to a cooked meal. Dad came home, played with the kids, took us camping. Like if there was a grizzly bear chasing us in the woods, like we knew if Dad was there.
Yeah.
He had it. We were always safe. There was nothing that ever made us feel uncomfortable or scared, or we were protected.
Yeah. Now, what kind of job did he have?
Did my dad have?
Yeah.
So he runs Rocky Mountain Machinery. He's a machine shop foreman.
Oh, cool.
So like hardcore hands,
Yeah. Strong man.
strong man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did that get him like 9 to 5 kind of job? Was he always home? And
He wasn't always home.
Okay.
No, he worked weekends. He was home at night, but he did work Saturday, Sunday
oh, really?
a lot. Yeah.
So he worked a lot.
Yep. Grew up in Rose Park.
Oh, okay, cool.
Rose Park. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said the moment he had to put bars on our windows at the house, he was getting us out of here, and then moved us to Draper. Like
Nice.
he would pack us a lunch from Rose Park all the way to Draper to go see our lot, and we were the only house out there. I was like, Draper, and now look at it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Draper would have been a lot of farmland back then, right?
Yeah, State Street ended, and then it was like little side roads.
Was that when State Street like went over the freeway and like merged into the freeway?
Probably before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Jeez
it
Louise.
was like all farm town. The mountain. So we were 138th, and that was as high up the mountain you went.
Oh, nice. Nice. Did he build the house or did he have someone build it?
We built the house and watched the full construction. He worked where he could on it, and
Yeah. Isn't that funny? My dad in our first house, he built a lot of it, like a lot of it.
yeah, it's
Kind
cool.
of like what they used to do back then.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Like they just know everything. You're like, how do you know how to tile? I just figure it out.
Right.
There wasn't YouTube or anything. Like
Yeah.
they just figured it out.
Yeah, and the community actually always helped too, right? I mean, if you framed a house, it's like, gosh, you get like, I don't know, 5 guys to come over and they throw all the walls up one day and then
Yep.
you do all the little finishy stuff. And then if you need, the boys, you just get them for 4 or 5 hours.
Yep. Family. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of the nicest parts about growing up in Utah.
Totally.
So
Yep.
did you grow up in the predominant religion that we have here in Utah?
You know what? With the last name Hinckley, most of my family was, but I was not raised LDS.
Oh, really?
Crazy, huh?
Was that because your mom was 1 or 2? One of your mom and dad, were they LDS growing up?
Growing up.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them growing up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My
Interesting.
dad's parents got divorced, and from there, it was like, I attended church here and there to kind of fit in. All my friends were going to church. Young Women's was awesome because it was like all the people were there.
Yeah, like buds.
All your friends were there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, cool.
So religion, I'm a very spiritual person now.
Yeah.
But I think it's been life that's gotten me here.
Yeah.
Yeah, people will start talking about organized religion, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I get it. Hey, that's not a bad way to live.
I agree.
I grew up in an LDS church, obviously, and I left when I was about 28.
Wow.
So, and it was kind of weird for me. I was like very, very staunch, and then one day I just flipped a light switch and stopped.
That's interesting.
Kind of found my way into spirituality the last couple of years.
Yeah, my daughter's dad ended up getting married. So her stepmom wanted her to get baptized at 8, but before she was 9, because then the missionaries come. And I'm like, I'm okay if she wants to get baptized, but she needs the missionaries to come and teach her what she's signing up for. Like I want the missionaries to come. I don't want her to do it just to fit in.
Yeah.
She needs to know what she's doing. So she didn't end up getting baptized either.
Oh,
So,
really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, was it hard growing up non-LDS?
it was.
Why is that?
Well, with a sister, we could play with each other, but nobody could play on Sunday.
Right.
There was a lot of judgment. I can remember laying out just on our trampoline in the backyard, and my parents got a letter because I was in my swimming suit, and it was anonymous, but I was like, wait, someone's literally looking in my mom's backyard. That's so weird to me. Nowadays, it's like fine, and it's easier to raise kids now. It's a little more accepting, but back then, yeah, it was just a lot of judgment. But it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah, I mean,
They were
you're
beautiful
resilient,
people.
right?
Yeah, beautiful people. Like they brought us dinner when someone was sick, or like it's a great community
Yeah.
of love
Yeah.
in many cases.
It's interesting. I always try and explain Utah to people, and it's like you got this huge bucket of like really good people, and they're kind of told that they have to keep on striving and striving and striving and striving, right? And so then they start making up little social rules, like they can't drink Coca-Cola, or you can't watch TV on Sundays, like all these things that are made up in their society, right?
Yeah.
And it's all to become perfecter, right?
Right.
And so, and then sometimes it gets out of whack, right? It really does.
Absolutely.
It becomes exclusatory, where they cut people out of their lives because they can't fit inside those rules that they've made and all that kind of stuff, or like that person might be a bad influence, and without actually getting to know the people. And I think the church as a whole has tried to steer that ship a little bit better, At least I've heard that. I've been pretty absent from watching General Conference for, 13, 14 years.
Wow.
So, but, I think they have good intentions, but like sometimes it comes rough, right? I mean, if you're a single girl at 16 and their son's 18 and he wants to take you to prom, like they shudder a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, crap.
She's out in her bikini on the trampoline.
Oh, yeah. And I want this kid on a mission. And what if this harlot steals his heart or something, you know what I mean? And can't get married in the temple, and like, because that's the most important thing.
I just wanted the son.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't bothering anyone.
But hopefully, I mean, it's interesting now. I've heard that there's less than 40% of the population are members now.
Wow.
So it's not the super majority, even though it's prevalent. But
Yeah.
I'm the same as you. I kind of grew up in a community. I love the way I grew up. I grew up pretty staunch LDS, and it was pretty safe. It was a safe way to grow up. And I grew up in the Highland Alpine area, so it was like
extra.
Oh, I even know 98% LDS, something like that.
Yeah.
There's
Beautiful
actually
area.
when I went on my mission, it was hard because I went to Scotland, and it was really weird for me not to be around people that weren't members of the church. Right? I mean, like no one was a member.
That was weird for me.
Except for the missionaries, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Even traveling and not being of the religion, I was like, what are these people like? And I would say, like, I went to New York, I can remember in high school, and I'm like, I'm from Utah and super nice. And they were like, and asked me where my horns are, and not being LDS. I was like, what horns? What are you even talking about?
Oh, yeah. I got checked for those on the mission.
For horns? Like, that just doesn't even make sense.
I remember one time, so if you think about this, it's so ridiculous, it's not even funny, right? So they built the London Temple. I'm going to quote this wrong. Let's just say the 40s, like 1940s, 1950s, right? Like a long time ago. And maybe 1960s. But the people in Scotland that had seen like documentaries or like little makeshift bullshit, basically documentaries, right? Thought that there was the tunnel that goes from the London Temple all the way to the Salt Lake Temple underground.
What? That would be cool.
Impossible to build. Like impossible. Like how deep did we build this tunnel? Did it go under the ocean? Does it go through the ocean? Does it go around the earth? Does it go straight through the earth? And so I get in these conversations with people, right? And you can kind of see the look on their face, right? Because they believe it 100%. They're like, oh yeah, there's a tunnel that goes through there. It's like, okay, number one, why?
Well, yeah.
Why is there a tunnel? And they'd be like, well, so you guys can do your secret travel, you know? It's
Secret travel.
Okay. How long would that take? Are we in a golf cart? We're not in a combustion car. You die in there. You know what I mean? And
Right.
the more people think about it, the more they're just like, yeah, this is really ridiculous, what I'm saying right now.
Back out.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, whatever you're saying is ridiculous. They could even build that right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It would be very cool.
Yeah. Well, sheesh.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe some little air bubbles every once in a while.
I mean, that would probably, gosh, dang, I don't even know how long that would take to drive that. Like 3 weeks? I don't know.
I'm sure
It's
someone
insane.
can do the math.
Yeah. Someone right now is like, well, it's 4 weeks.
Right.
Guy's an idiot. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's weird. Yeah, I had people before say, hey, do you have horns? And I was like, what do you mean do I have horns?
I know.
You know, then they like want to touch your head. I'm like, yeah, touch my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good to go.
It was, yeah. And I didn't understand. I still don't, but.
Were you ever tempted to join?
It was not tempted to join, but fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah, fit in. Just to fit in.
We had a couple of guys in my high school just get baptized just because it was easier to fit in if you were
Right.
baptized. Everyone kind of praised you, you know, oh,
Yeah.
welcome to the church. And they could do whatever they want.
Yeah. Going to seminary and doing,
Oh,
I was
that's
in
right.
seminary.
Did you do seminary?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it was a thing to fit in. So,
Was it?
yeah. And now we're out of class.
Yeah. Well, the dirty secret is, though, you could have just left school if you didn't
Yeah.
take that class.
I figured that out too. And then I also realized after that you could graduate early for not taking seminary. I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, I screwed this up.
I'm out. I'm going to go work.
Yeah. So have you ever lived outside of Utah?
No.
Dang.
I know.
Utah through and through, huh?
I know.
Do you have the desire?
To live outside of Utah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
I
would you
love
go?
the ocean.
Oh, you like the ocean?
Yep. I'm an earth person, and the ocean and the sunset is just my jam.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think the ocean's therapeutic. I think the salty air, the sounds, you can immerse yourself in it, obviously. Yeah, I joke about it all the time. 'Cause my wife and I, Michelle, we wanted to move to California for a long time, like San Diego. Like that was kind of our if we make it, we'll move to San Diego.
Right.
And then I realized what taxes are in California, so I scratched that off the list completely. I'll never live in California.
Nope.
But yeah, like waking up to the beach. Like I travel a lot, so when I travel like to San Francisco, I'd get hotels where I could just open the windows or the doors on a balcony and just let the ocean wake me up in the morning. And
Love that.
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I went last February. So we do a memory Christmas and a gift Christmas because I'm divorced, and 2 Christmases with Santa is absurd to me. I'm like, no, we're going to have a memory one. So last year, their memory trip was Fort Myers, Florida, right before the hurricane.
Right.
So it was magical. Everyone's at dinner in their flip-flops and beach attire and walking the beach. They all go to bed at 8 because it's like an older community. I was like, this is the best. We're like zooming on the streets on our electric bikes. It was just magical.
Oh, that's cool. So who all went with you?
My 2 kids and their boyfriend. And then, so I was with someone last in 2021 that, I don't know, I'm imagining that we'll talk about later, but his kids went as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll talk about him in a minute. I forget how fresh that is, actually. Yeah. So, well, let's I don't know. Let's jump into it, right?
I tried to
This
is your show, but I think we're there.
Yeah, no, let's jump into it. So, let's talk about how I met you first. So you came up and did a breathwork session at my men's group. We Are the They. Tell me why.
You guys have my heart. Well, how we got into men's mental health. I started Operation Twitch with Michelle after Twitch took his life. So we had a major focus on men's mental health. And for me, mental health in men is just so relevant right now. There's so much. I just truly believe that the human body wasn't brought here to prepare for all of everything coming at anyone, but mostly men, because it's their job to protect, right? And so when Michelle told me that was an opportunity for us, I was like, I am so freaking in. I'm so freaking in. Let's go.
I'll tell you, for us too, like I guess I'm speaking for all men here, and I probably shouldn't, but it's kind of refreshing, you know, like we take a mental beat down a lot from society, you know, we're told we're toxic, we're told we're rapists, you know what I mean? Like we're told all this bullshit, and most of us men, you know, we kind of look at it and go back to what we're doing, you know, raising our families, being good to our spouses, you know, being good to our employees or being a good employee. Like really most men, and I mean the vast majority of men, are good, safe places.
Absolutely.
And it really is. It's becoming increasingly hard to live in this world where we're just told all the time how horrible we are and how, I mean, men built this world, you know, and I don't know, we're kind of getting shit on, I guess.
I know.
And so to have two, you know, beautiful women come and like do a breathwork session with us and give us a break from the world and allow us to kind of go into ourselves and like hold space for us and like make us feel loved, and like it's really, really refreshing, especially when you don't really expect it, right? We
right.
Fun thing with Jimmy, right? You never know what's going to happen, right? He doesn't even give us an agenda.
I would be on my tippy toes the whole time. Like, am I going to get water? What's the water thing?
Yeah, waterboarded. Yeah,
I'm like,
that was actually easy.
Oh,
yeah. But so when we, you know, we all went in that room and we're all stuffed in there like sardines, you know, like it was like, yeah, we got these two ladies and you guys told us about Operation Twitch, and it was just like, oh, you know, I think every single guy in there was like, all right, breath work, let's try this. And then when you guys actually talked about your mission, we were all kind of like, I think you got everyone's attention, where everyone just looked at you guys and said, okay, like I believe you.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you guys are a safe place that we can believe that you're actually here for us, not just, I don't know.
Yeah, that was a very healing experience for me as well. That's what's cool about energy. Like you get these safe, incredible men in a room, and I had never shared my story. And so to see you guys so vulnerable in that moment, I was just like, it's time. Yeah. Like it's time that I let these men know that I see them wholly. Like I experienced witnessing a man 12 minutes right before he took his life in my new home. Like, and now when I look at men, I can see that. So I see the darkness. I see if they're hurting. Like it's just a different level.
And what was his name?
Kevin.
So he was your boyfriend at the time, right? How long had you guys been dating for?
So we dated a year. And then, so I was single mom, just bought a house. So brand new house. And I mean, naturally the thing to do is figure out moving in together, right? Yeah. I mean, or get married, whatever. Yeah. And so we moved in together, and we had never spent the night at each other's houses or anything like that. So to be now living in that experience with him, the darkness that I saw, the pain, I just didn't understand it. Yeah. I was just like, life is really, really good. Like, what is going on? And he didn't talk. Like I'll just figure it out. And nothing's wrong. But he would stay in the basement for days. Oh. And I'm the type that's like, okay, I've never dealt with depression. Like, I don't know mental health. My life was pretty good. Like, I'm going to go to work and let me know if you need anything. Like, you know, and there was anger behind that that was able to be masked. And I'm really good now at my intuition. Like, my intuition told me that I shouldn't have done what I was doing. And I believe as females, our intuitions we just don't listen to them. Yeah. Like, they are there, and they are there for a reason, to keep you safe. You know what you should be doing. And I did it anyway. I was, in the darkness with them, and now my kids are. And so now I'm in this fine line of like keeping my kids happy and safe, because all they know is rainbows and butterflies, peace, and like mom's been like our ground. Yeah. And now it's chaos It was just chaos. No one felt really like they could speak, or like it was just, and it was only when it was at home. Like, so it was, yeah, he was just masked up really well.
Do you know what he was depressed over?
No, nope.
What signs did you see looking back?
Of the depression?
Yeah. Like looking back, if you were to say, this was a moment I should have had action, this is a moment I should have had action.
Yeah. He was, I began distancing myself from my family, which is like not me. Friends, like super close friends. He didn't like agree with them or had an opinion about them. So it was like, in order to keep him happy, like I'm going to separate myself. It's just easier. I don't have time or whatever. And there were arguments where I'm not confrontational. So like when someone gets in those raging moments, someone that's calm and grounded and steady needs you to fight. Like, and I didn't have that in me where I'm not going to argue with you. I will hold space for you and be here for you, but I'm not going to talk because there's nothing I can say. Yeah. So I became like a beat board, you know, and I'm so grounded in who I am. Like I've been through stuff before, and EMDR, like therapy that way. So I knew freaking who I was. I was like, so being called all of these names or being held in a room or like this man standing over me trying to control me, I'm like, that's not me. Like, I don't even know who you're talking about. And some of the things I was able to just be like, almost like, who are you even talking about? So being held in rooms was really hard for me. One time I was just like lifted my hands, like, just let me go, you know? And he was like, are you going to hit me? And I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, what is going on? And I can remember my EMDR therapist saying, what would you tell your daughter in these moments? Like, if this was happening to your daughter, what would you tell her? And I'm like, get out, like, get out. But I didn't know how. Like, a lot of women don't know how. Like, you've got this anger and eggshells, and you're like, how do I get out of this? I've been in a new home for a month. This is my house. It was just hard. So I was like trying to figure out how to do this. And it was stressful on the relationship. And he, I think, wanted to know he was safe. And I couldn't give that to him. Like, there wasn't an amount of love or I'm going to be here forever. There was nothing I could say to calm what he was going through, because I'm not going to give up my life and live this way to make you happy, you know, and complete, which was really hard. It was really hard. Yeah. And it became a dance of like, if I leave, what's he going to do to himself? If I stay, what am I doing to myself? Like, I can't do that. Yeah. Like, my kids are here.
Would he threaten suicide a lot?
He in 1 month did twice. Okay. Yeah. And this was all when we started living together. Yeah. It was easy for him when we were dating to go home and like be in his own space and hide for a little bit. I just assumed he was working or doing something, you know, and I just didn't know.
Was he abusing like alcohol or anything like that? Any substance? No.
Not that I know of, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's interesting. That seems to be a common thread sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I know.
What are your feelings looking back on it? Because you've kind of come through the ashes of it, and you're kind of on the backside of it now. When you think about it, like, how do you feel? Yeah. So it was he said he was going to do it, and he went missing for a weekend. And it was calling the suicide hotlines, looking for him, and like all the things. And people are calling me saying like, only you can call him. But he would text me and I would call, and then he would yell at me. And I'm like, I'm not going to hear you call me these names. Like get it, calm down, and then I will talk to you. So that was 2 days. And finally someone was like, look, if you get to him, just go to a park and just meet him at a park. Don't go home. And I was like, okay, that feels good. Like, and every time I would
try and tell him like, this isn't going to work. Like, I can't live in this. You have to get help. He would storm off. And so it was like this, again, fine line of like, this man's going to take his life if I let him go, but what's he going to do to me if I stay, you know? So finally got him home. Then I had to calm my family down because my family's like, you're not safe. Like, they saw something that I wasn't seeing. And I got him home. He went to bed, whatever. And I went to my sister's and kind of calmed my family down, stayed there for the night, and came back home and like told my family like that I wasn't going back. Like, they just are like, okay, go get breakfast, go get coffee, like, but don't go back. Yeah. And I ended up going back. So nobody knew where I was. And I walked in and he was like, what do you want to do? And I said, make pancakes and take a nap. Because I did. I was so tired. And he's like, I want to talk. And the rage came. So, and now looking back, there's, it's that trauma gift I have now. Like, I can see it in a man, the darkness. And I saw it coming again. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. So I sat down and he started yelling, calling me all these names. And I just reached in my hoodie and felt my car keys were still in there. So I just sprinted out into my garage and locked my car door. And in the past, I had been retained in my garage. Like, he would stand behind my car and not let me leave just until I said, everything's going to be okay. Like, he just wanted to hear everything's going to be okay and I'll be back. I couldn't give him that. I couldn't. I had been trying. And so he stood at the garage door and just open, close, open, close, open, close. And I'm like, okay, like, you have a decision to make. Like, are you going to stay, get out of your car and go in, or are you going to drive through the garage? And that's what I chose to do. So yeah, drove to my sister's again. He called me, super upset, and said, if you're not going to come home, on the phone, I said, look, I will talk to you all day long, but I'm not coming home because I don't feel safe. And, yeah, he said, if you're not going to come home, then you should hear this, and took his life over the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did he shoot himself then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In my bedroom. Yeah.
What was that like?
I got to breathe for a second. I'm like, that's it. You know, the decision to finally follow my intuition in that moment, I believe obviously an opinion. I believe something would have happened to me had I stayed. That's how scared I was. And until someone looks, any man, woman, anyone in the eyes of the darkness, moments before, I was the last person to see him.
Yeah.
In those moments, like, it's something I will never forget. I'll never forget that. And I needed to leave. And I'm so grateful to be here. Yeah. I'm glad I did. My kids popped into my head, and I was just like, I'm doing this for my kids.
Yeah. Did you ever miss him?
At first I did. Because I don't know if it's potential. I see love so big that sometimes I think love that big can also be hard on a person. You know, they don't know what to do. Like, you love so big and you know what you're losing. You act like love is crazy.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, do I miss him? I did at first. It's been a long process. It's been a very long process. When I went into EMDR, my therapist, because I was so present that she started therapy on end of life. So it's like end of life type of therapy for me, because I would be drinking water and I could literally feel every drip of water going down my throat. Or like I would be talking in conversation and I would watch the people's lips, like just like, this human is so beautiful, you know, like just so present that I couldn't even function. I'm like, okay, you still have to be normal. You can't be crazy.
Yeah.
But it was just, yeah. And it's such a spiritual experience. Like it was, there were times where I was like in therapy, knowing maybe there was something I could have said to this man to keep him alive. And that killed me for a really long time. Like I have these kids of his that now I'm looking at and I'm like, is there something I could have done? And I believe there isn't.
Yeah.
Could I have in that moment? Possibly. Could I have calmed him down? Possibly. But I would have had to say, I'm staying and we're safe. Yeah. But then that's giving me away.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let someone control me and tell me how I need to be or live or who I get to be around or believe.
No, that's a super important principle you're saying is you have to take care of you first. Yeah. I think a lot of people, and women probably fall to the side more than men, but like really you cannot, it's like in an airplane, right? When the masks come down, you have to put yours on first before you can help other people because you can't always be suffering. You can't help people when you're suffering. Right. You just can't.
Yep. And that men's mental health, to me, I believe it starts with them because in those moments, my first podcast, I've also realized as women were commenting, like the man that did this similar things to me is still alive and I can't speak. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so my problem is like, why do women go back? Because there are so many women that go back and don't come out the way I have. And for me to look at my life and whether or not it was saved or not, like I'm so passionate about not looking at a man in a dark spot, learning how I can get that, help them work through that. And then for women, like loving them so much that knowing that they're safe in their bodies, that they don't need the man, that they're safe, their intuition, they need to listen to it. Yeah. Like listen to that still small voice in there that just wants to talk to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Intuition is one of my gifts as well, I think. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, I think that's what they regret, right? Is not following your intuition. Mm-hmm. You don't regret things that happen because things happen, right? Absolutely. But what you really regret is just not listening to yourself. It's like, I freaking knew it.
Yeah, most of the time Yeah. If you just slow down and listen.
Yeah. So kind of going back to the event, because my mind's kind of reeling, right? Like after it happened, my first question, did you believe that it happened? So was it like surreal?
So it happened. And it was a moment where and I still don't know what I heard, trauma makes you forget things. So I don't know what I heard, but in those moments, I luckily was at my sister's house, just laying on her porch. And
were you by yourself?
She came out, I just beat it on the door and she came out. And at this point in my mind, it wasn't real. I was I don't know what happened. And I'm I don't know what happened. But in this moment, I'm just screaming, just let him be alive, let him be alive, let it be pills. And just let the firefighters do their work. And he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. And just remember screaming that. And I can remember just rubbing my skin because I just wanted to feel on the cement, my hands. And and my sister just held me and I was just screaming. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you end up calling the police?
So his daughter was home. Oh,
she was in the house?
Yeah. And she came up to find him.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She was 21.
Okay.
Which is, yeah.
Have you two been able to talk about it?
Not the actual experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still in communication with her?
No. There was a point where I had to step back a little bit because our journeys were different. Yeah. Their experience is losing their father, and I 100 respect that. So I loved them through, what was it? Probably after that trip, because then you're meshing my kids and their experience, and as a mom now holding down all these kids, I'm okay, they're adults. His kids are adults. My kids are still in my home growing. I got to figure this out because they were so traumatized, but my kids are grateful for me to be alive. Yeah. So two totally different experiences. And in that moment I had to I had to decide where I could handle it the most. And this felt dark to me. So I had to go, how are we going to get out of this? Like, how are we going to move through? I experienced like a shaman in my home, trying to get the energy out and trying to see if I could live in my brand new house now. And so I would just go and sit there, and Michelle would sit there with me, just holding my hand, a couple of friends, because I could never go back alone. And after a month or two, I decided that the home didn't have enough to stay, like it needed to go, and bought a house by my sister in Bluffdale here, and it's just been incredible. Like the gifts after the experience have just been, I can't even explain it. Just to be able to look at men now so differently and to experience that end of life experience. Michelle had me in breath. So I did EMDR, and then how I found breath was, you can't have your therapist all the time, right? So I was like, Michelle, help. And she held me in breath. And as I was breathing, I began having nightmares months later, where he would come in, that face that I left was there. And it was like this big staticky tunnel that I would envision, like dying would be like a big static tunnel. And my family, I would look back, and my family's jumping up trying to grab me. So I'm like going to this place, and I was like, Michelle, you got to help me. I got to figure out this dream. So she put me in breath, and I went back to the dream, which was weird. And he came in, and there was a bubble, like a clear bubble over the top of me, and he just bounced off of it. And I was like, okay, like, he's good, I'm good. Yeah. This is the right thing.
Do you think you've made peace with that?
Little things come up, like places I've driven, or like smells or sounds, or for a long time. So Halloween happened after it. So it happened in September, and it was October Halloween. So then I'm like put in cemeteries in people's front yards, and like, so just a bunch of triggery things. But I have the tools like EMDR and breath. Breath has been so magical. Yeah.
What about his funeral? Did you attend?
Mm-hmm. So planned a funeral with the kids. That was what to wear, what to say, do. And it was a lot of like, I had to carry everyone. Like, okay, this is, and then it was more like a month after where I'm like, what just happened? Like, now I'm living in this house that didn't have any furniture in it because my friends put me in just like a house in Daybreak so that my kids and I could have somewhat of a normal life while we figured it out. And no furniture. We were on mattresses on the floor. And for 6 months we lived in that condo in Daybreak, and it was just tender mercies everywhere. Friends, family, strangers. So yeah.
What do your kids say now about it?
I sheltered my son from it. Like, he wasn't at the funeral. He wasn't, because his dad was angry. His dad was angry. Obviously there's the love for your son's mom. Yeah. So he was pretty pissed off.
Was he mad? What was he mad about, that you were in that situation and his son was in there, kind of thing?
He wasn't, yeah. Or that he could have taken me, yeah.
Right, oh, okay.
Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows if he did or not, but that I was in that situation, and he felt so helpless. Yeah. And the love there, like imagining your son living without their mom, like that hit hard. Yeah. And trying to.
That's an interesting angle. Have you talked to him much about it? Your ex?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Has that brought you guys closer?
Mm-hmm.
Or?
Yep.
What's his attitude towards the situation now?
Now, better.
Yeah.
He was very loving the whole time, but I think there was an anger piece that he didn't put on to me, which was awesome. Right. But a protection piece. I'm so protected.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of want to talk about feeling safe. In our men's group and, amongst men when we talk about being, masculine, right? And counter to the popular belief, we don't believe in toxic masculinity. We believe just in like powerful masculinity, right? Mm-hmm. And really what that is, we've kind of defined it as making your everyone feel safe, right? So your spouse, your kids, your friends, anyone that comes into your home, like if you're a very powerful masculine man, like you are making people feel safe. Mm-hmm. Did you feel in that relationship, did you have moments where you felt safe? Did it get progressively worse? Was it uneasy at the beginning and kind of got really bad, or?
There were
your
moments.
Hindsight? Yeah.
Most of the time it was safety. Yeah. Most of the time. Yeah, I think people know what to do. They know what people need. It's the moments that things get hard is when something else takes over. And then they can't be that.
Yeah.
And it's an emotional safety for me. Like I need to know that you've got me emotionally, physically, and tender. Like I need tenderness in my protection. I need your words to mean something that make me feel safe too.
What's it like? What does it feel like to not feel safe? Like explain that to people, mostly men. I think when you're a masculine man, you don't get what it's like to make someone feel unsafe.
Absolutely. Probably stable. Like I believe stability in having your responsibilities taken care of, stability in being an example for your kids. Like they need to see you doing the things that you want them to be when they're fathers and husbands, and how they want to lead their family one day, because they will be. And you have to be an example for them of how you want them to be.
Yeah.
And that's a big responsibility for a man. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I can't even imagine. But for a woman, I've had to step into my masculine because I've been a single mom. And so I've had to hustle. It's not comfortable for me. I don't want to be there, but I have to be. Like I'm finding now that my feminine is so beautiful. And in those rooms with the men that are willing to put their guard down and accept the feminine coming in, it's just a beautiful dance of masculine and feminine. Like we're here to hold you and support you when you are having your hard days, but then you go out and you do the man thing. You do the man thing, but come home and I will love you and give you all the energy and creativity and fun and joy and love that you need. But then we still need you to go and protect this container.
Yeah. See, my philosophy on it is it's such a yin and a yang, right? And like when you really optimize your relationship between a man and a woman, you have shown up in such a masculine way that there's no room for her to be masculine at all.
No.
Right? And then she gets to be chaos and fun and beautiful and creative, and you just get to sit there and experience it with her. You get all the benefits of it. So the more masculine you show up, the more feminine you turn your woman into, right? And you get all that craziness, right?
Yeah.
Which is fun.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful dance. Yep.
Yeah. It's fulfilling.
Yeah. So I'm actually finding that, and I'm pursuing this more. I just stepped down from my corporate hustle job of 9 years.
Nice.
To do this full time with Michelle, because I believe it's so much that I hope that more women can step into their feminine and more men will feel safe to be in their masculine through what we're building here. Yeah. And I hope more people get to experience that in a marriage and relationships and friendships. And like girls are meant to have fun. Yeah. Cyndi Lauper had it like dialed in. Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah. Well, and you want to know too, I mean, I think men do too.
Absolutely.
But you gotta, not that women don't work either, right? But like for men, like when you provide that safe place, when you provide financial stability to the family, and you have all this order and, almost rule following, right? The fun is to spend it with your spouse.
With your spouse, yes.
It's like men have earned that.
Right. And they want to come home to it, right? Yeah. There's so many men that are like, I just have to sit in my car for 40 minutes to unwind from my day before I can go in and listen to more. Because if so many men have said, I just feel like a burden. Like they just walk into a home and then all of a sudden they haven't taken out the trash and it's like, okay, the trash can wait. Like, just be a family. Like,
yeah, my wife does a fantastic job of that. I don't have a honey-do list.
I love that
Mostly
for you.
because I'll hire it out. But.
Yeah, but you let her be her too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I remember when she wanted to start homeschooling our kids. And I was like, you sure about this? You sure about this? You know? And she was like, yeah, I really do. I love it, you know. And she's very academic, you know, very intelligent. And so, I don't know, it's kind of in her wheelhouse. But my wife, the beautiful thing about her, she just always wanted to be a mom. Like, that's always she's ever wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And so she worked for the first 2 years of us having kids. You know, we didn't have that much money back then. We needed her to work. No. And like I remember the day when she stopped working, you know, like we knew it was coming, you know, and we kind of planned for it. And I remember like the first couple of weeks, I was just like overwhelmed with like, oh, it's freaking just me now. Like I can't, you know, I got paid 1 week, she got paid the other, right? So it was like every week we got paid. And
right.
And quite frankly, I actually was making enough money for her to retire or whatever you want to call it, right? But I remember thinking like, oh, flip, this is a lot. You know, like this really depends on me. If this business that I'm at goes under, then I got to go find a job. Like, what's that look like? And, you know, the uncertainty and chaos that comes with that. But the one thing we were always able to do is maintain like a very peaceful home. Yes. You know, not that we didn't have an argument every now and again, right? But like the home was just very peaceful. Yeah. And that's why, you know, we like to have people over to the house a lot. You know, we do different activities there and we do all sorts of stuff. And it's I like bringing people there. And I always tell them, I'm like, dude, this is like my peace palace.
It feels good.
You know, it's just, I like being home.
That's what I promised my kids moving into my next house. So this home, we have selenite on all of our, like there's no room for negative energy. Like if you're even having a hard day, we're gonna address it, talk about it, and like, if that means pushing, punching walls, pillows, like we're going to do that and get it out because it's not welcome. Like this is our safe place and our peace and love and serenity.
Yeah. So do you feel like, you've overcame all this then? I mean, I know, is it starting to become a memory more than like you're living it?
Totally. Which I never thought it would be. I never thought my life would be. Yeah. I was like, how do I even move on from something like this? But so Michelle does breath, and I'm now in a course through the same pause program, and into somatics. So we're finding that dust gets kicked up in breath, but in somatics, it's breath, sound, and movement. So in those moments that things are getting kicked up, now through somatics, I'm able to go in, I can look at you and see where the energy is tight. Like, this person doesn't want to release out of their mouth. So, okay, we're going to do some movements, or we're going to hum together, or just like different things. So it's like orchestrating so beautifully what we've built. And we're so feminine. Like, it's the coolest thing that I don't have to be masculine anymore and like get my system dinged all the time. I'm just like, I can have a job doing this. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Plus it's so needed.
It's so needed.
Like it really is.
Yeah. Like I was saying earlier, the human container isn't prepared for phones and computers and social media and like all the things that are so big right now. We weren't sent here for that. So in order to make the container be able to withstand something like that, you have to get out the stuff that happened when you were 6 and 5 and all. Like there's no space for those protectors anymore. Yeah. Let's let some light in so that you can open that container up and release some crap.
So when you guys came to Bear Lake, was that the first time you did a breathwork session for men? Or had you done it before? We
had been doing Twitch. So we started Twitch in December. And we had been doing a couple.
Okay, so you're about a month in?
Yeah.
You did it with us? Mm-hmm. So what'd you think in there? I asked Michelle the same question. It'll be funny to see your different perspective on it.
You know what? The we are the they men. I was a little bit nervous. She will usually start breath with like, okay, we're just going to get in our bodies and we're just going to like breathe slow. And like you guys, she earlier had told you what we're going to do, but then she's like, okay, now stay with me right here. But you guys just hit, like you hit hard and all the chests in, I don't know how many were in there, 50? 55. Like every single man in that room immediately was regulated. You were all co-regulated, they call it. Yeah. Usually with Twitch, they're all strangers. So you've got people that are trying to like find their breath, and like it's a little stumbly at first. So that part of Michelle's breath works perfectly because then it forces everyone to get co-regulated. You guys just go hard. Like from the, you're like, oh, what are we doing? Okay, go.
Yeah.
And you're in.
Yeah,
and then it was just the most beautiful thing to see those brothers like that. It's what Jimmy's built and you guys are building is so needed.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you guys. Like
Yeah.
men need men because they don't know. There's things they can't say anymore. There's things that they can't do anymore. Like they don't know what they can and cannot do anymore. So they just like are robots trying to do their best.
I'll tell you, that's a really extremely good point what you're just saying there, because we also are like looking for a leader so badly that whoever pops up with some, political rant or something, right? We're just like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like, that's our, we just kind of fall behind these guys, all the way down to like even Donald Trump a little bit, right?
Right.
The thing in our country that's so funny is like, no one wants him to be the president, really. We want the best guy in our country to be the president, right? But those dudes aren't stepping up because that's a horrific job, right?
Awful.
But then when you're getting just constantly beat down all the time, you see a guy like him stand up, and through all of his faults, at least he says the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. He
I know
speaks
people
his
think
truth.
People think he's a crazy liar
Right.
and stuff. But like, no, I think that dude really just says what he thinks. And then he really tried to do what he said he was going to do in the campaign trail. And you watch the country, and it's mostly men.
Absolutely.
Right? Be like, yeah, that's our guy. We're voting for him.
Right.
Because
They're our tribe leader.
Yeah, we are so sick of being lied to, especially by politicians and just like society in general, Like, I mean, you watch movies now and TV shows, and it's all about, it's like the emasculating of men, And it's like, it's a little subtle here and there. And we're like, when I say we, guys that like just want to be good guys. Like we're just sick of seeing this crap shoved down our throat all the time, and we don't really know where to go. And we're really just like, anytime someone stands up, it's like we want to back that person in 2 seconds.
Right. It's hard to protect your family when that's what you have.
Yeah.
You just don't know what angle things are going to come at you and your family. Like, how do you protect that?
Yeah. And, like even the Me Too movement, right? It was, that whole thing was really funny to me, right? So I hear this thing about this guy named Harvey Weinstein. Did I know who he was? Hell no, right? Do I know that Hollywood's absolutely evil and corrupt? Yeah. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out, right? And so he starts talking, or they start accusing him of these things, right? And I'm telling you, my first gut reaction was like, yeah, take this freaking son of a bitch down. You know what I mean? Like, good. I hope this guy freaking goes down. And within like, a couple of weeks, all of a sudden it was like, every man out there has committed some violation of Me Too. And it was like, what?
Seriously. I did notice that.
Yeah. And the people just popping up out of nowhere. Yeah, I had a boss one time touch my back inappropriately. And it was like, whoa.
Right.
Like, we've gone crazy, right? And then it was this whole rape culture thing where men want to rape women all the time, and no one cares about these women. They can't come forward.
So they can't touch. So that they're like, if I can't touch anything, like my hands are, when really men just want to maybe give you a hug.
Yeah. Well,
that's it. I just want to hug you.
Well, and even us, if some girl comes to me and says, I was raped, I'm like, let's take care of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? What do you need?
Right.
And I'm saying 95% of men are that way, right?
Yeah.
But when you're shouting that we are the rapists just by being masculine, everyone just kind of looks over and we're done. We're not your ally. We're not going to back you anymore. You're saying ridiculous shit.
Right.
And it's kind of pushed us like in this, I don't know, like in a corner almost,
yep.
But there's so many of us, you can't, I don't know, we're not very vocal, I guess, really. Men really aren't that vocal.
We are the they.
Yeah, more vocal than that, yeah.
But it's coming. But people respect it. I think looking in as a female, I'm like, those are the men that need to be teaching our children.
Yeah.
So when Jimmy came out with that kids program, I'm like, dude, my son's 9. He needs you right now. Like, come up with like the 5 to 9 or 5 to 10.
I think they'll get there. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. We were talking about this on my podcast. One of the things that defined my character was Boy Scouts. Right?
I've heard that several times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm an Eagle Scout. I got like 9 Eagle Palms. Like I was all about it, right? But you learned to accomplish things. You learned about your community. You learned about
hands.
Yeah. I mean, you did a lot of physical things. And, you had to do like Eagle projects, and you kind of like graduated up, from tenderfoot to, I can't remember all of them.
Yeah.
But, life and whatever.
I love
all the way through, right? And it's like, it was this program in this system that men were able to jump into, or boys actually, I shouldn't say men, we definitely weren't men, but we were being led by men.
Yep.
You know, and these were men that, like, looking back, it's like, holy crap, how much time did you sacrifice to come hang out with a bunch of Yahoo 12-year-olds,
Yep.
you know? But I'm telling you, if I see any of my scout leaders, the ones that are still alive, it's like, dude, I've hugged the death out of them, you know? It's like, what were you thinking, man? It's like, I don't know, dude. I was trying to make my wife happy. I take you guys camping every week or every
That's
month.
interesting.
You know?
Yeah, my dad, although we weren't active in the church, he took part, he held those Eagle Scouts, and he went through that whole program.
Did he? Yeah.
Spent his time with those Eagle Scouts, and yeah, I forgot about that.
It's fun.
Oh, I'm like you, Dad.
It's a thing that's missing from society massively, right?
Totally is.
And it's been replaced with video games. It's been replaced with, I don't know, computers, like virtual stuff, being on the iPad all the time.
People get bullied and
Yeah.
violence all the time.
See, I got bullied as a kid. People don't believe it now because I'm massive, right? But I was small once, you know. I was a baby.
Right.
And although it sounds crazy, like I got bullied 2 or 3 very distinct times, right? I grew from it. You know, the third time I got bullied, I was in 7th grade or 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade. I got beat up by 3 kids that were bigger than me, right? And it was during gym class, right? And we were outside in the fields, and my coach watched it happen.
Wow.
Right. So we walked back in there. It wasn't like a brutal beatdown. I got punched 4 or 5 times.
Enough to wake you up.
Got held down,
Yeah.
you know. They didn't like my patent leather shoes. I was kind of a skater kid. And I remember walking in there, right? And we go to like get a shower from the coach, and he had all the towels out to everybody. And he said something to me like, rough day. You know, and I kind of looked at him like, yeah, you asshole. Like, you didn't freaking come out there and protect me or take care of me. I remember I took a shower and I came back. Then I started walking home from school by myself because I lived close to school. And I remember thinking, like, never again.
It's not going to happen to me.
Like, never again. Like, I don't care what happens. I will fight tooth and nail. I will kill someone almost if I have to.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm never going to get bullied again.
Right.
And, you know, I started naturally getting bigger and you know, stronger. And I started doing weights, and I, you know, was playing football. And, you know, I quickly grew into a monster, essentially. Right?
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, some people look at me like, holy crap. But, like, I don't know. I mean, it was a good thing. I mean, people want to protect people from that, but like it was actually a good thing, you know. When I was like in 3rd or 4th grade, I got beat up by a bunch of 5th and 6th graders, and they were holding my head in the snow, and it was really hard for me, you know. And it was weird though, because I didn't go home and tell my parents about it. I really internalized the hell out of it, right? And I actually don't think that's a bad thing. Now I had outlets for it, right? And I think I had some friends that had seen it, and like I had talked to them amongst my peers almost. And my parents would have done something about it, you know. It wasn't like they weren't a safe place. I don't know. I just
it doesn't
chose to
feel like a
internalize
big
it.
deal. Yeah.
I was just like, well,
It
this
happened.
is life. I
And,
deal with it, you know. And that really set me on a course for a lot of things in my life. Like I just deal with stuff, you know.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's like a life lesson that you have to learn, men and women.
Right.
You know, like no one. Like I always tell people, like no one's coming for you.
Nobody.
Like you got to take care of this yourself.
Right.
Which is why going back to your experience, you know, yeah, you had to leave.
I had to leave.
You knew
he
it.
had
You
to
had the
help
intuition.
himself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was not the wrong decision.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I want to bring up something. We can cut this if you want.
Okay.
So his family's upset with you. You talked about this on a podcast, and Michelle kind of gave me a couple more details, but they've kind of come after you a little bit. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is?
I've been very intentional about protecting his legacy for them. You know, when I think kids are raised in situations like that, they don't see it as a bad thing, the way they were treated, or maybe, and I can't speak to how he parented them at all because I wasn't there. But it becomes normal when you're in those situations where yelling is just a normal thing. Being called names is just a normal thing. Like, someone that comes in from outside that never happened to him, like, that's not normal. Like being called the devil, like that's not okay.
Yeah.
And so I think it's protecting the legacy still, which I mean, looking back, my intentions with men's mental health, I've never said his name in anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
Until today. I said it earlier. But I guess my answer to that would be protecting the legacy. But from my standpoint, where you, again, have witnessed someone 12 minutes, 8 minutes before, like I saw him, not him. Like he was not him. Someone else was in there in the darkness. And until you've experienced that and you get to figure out how you want to then take the lesson from that and impact others, then you can't really speak to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can speak to it, but don't judge me for the way I chose to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So is it his kids that are mostly upset, or is it his parents?
Siblings. Yeah.
Oh, siblings. Yeah.
I can't say all of them, but some specific siblings and child. Yeah.
You know, and I think it can be said, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, they love this guy.
Absolutely.
And a part of
Everyone
you absolutely loved him too.
Right.
And I don't think you telling your story actually hurts his legacy, No.
I think it creates safety for people that feel the same. That's what I want. What I want for men is to know that they have to save themselves. Nobody can save them. Their child can't save them. A sport they want to play can't save them. Like those are just distractions of what the big issue is.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about somatics is you get to go in and find that peace and let them process it. You get to sit in that moment when you were 6 years old being screamed at or bullied or all the things, and you get to flow through it rather than bury it anymore. And then it just is so freeing. So just the education I've had in that experience, or the end of life experience that I had to process through EMDR, like it's just being fully present. I see so much more than I did before my experience. Yeah. And I just want to help, starting with men, but I love the women too. I always say the men, but the women, holding space for women. We did the Queens shortly after the other one, and just the perfectionism and who they want to be for their men. Yeah. It's like, why do you think you need to be this thing for the men? Like, let's let the men let you be you, and then you all get to create this beautiful experience for your kids to witness and then create in generations to come.
Exactly. And when Michelle and I were talking about this, I actually said to her the same thing, and that I'm going to say is that men should be able to hold space for women too. Yeah. Like, I don't know how you guys are going to cross that bridge if you do.
We will. We're up for it all.
But but like having, let's just say, what's a normal group, like 25 people?
That's normal, yeah.
About
I mean, Twitch and you guys are like 50 to 70.
Yeah. We like to do it big.
You give us a run for our money.
But I think one part of breath work that people don't understand until you've done it a couple of times is there's a touch element to it, where the practitioners or the facilitators come around and actually touch you, and they'll hold your hand, or they'll grab your shoulders, or they'll grab your feet, a lot of times, and it's just like a squeeze. It's just like a hold, and like people. And they always ask, put a little thing up or raise your hand if you don't want to be touched. Right. And they respect your space 100%. Right. But I did a breath work, the first one that I ever really dropped into the breath, and it was weird. I was like really wanting to be touched, and this lady came up and basically like ran her fingers like up the back of my neck, just like a little. I mean, she touched me for 5 seconds, and it was like, boom. That kind of lit me up. Actually, it was kind of like this like energy
bringing
exchange.
The light. Yep.
And I remember thinking, I'm like, oh man, that feels freaking good. Like better than a massage, or like, but it felt like very loving too. And love has 1,000 shades. Sometimes you say love and people go straight to spouse love, and it's like, no, and it's not brotherly love either. It's like a different type. It's like a human connection love. Like, hey, we're in this together. I'm going to help you. You're the participant, and I'm the facilitator. Right. Like that seems to be what that is. And
then we all go home. Like everything's left in the room. You're not like, it's cool. We're going to do this thing, and then you go home, and you go home.
I don't even know her name.
So, but that's what's been cool about breath is we've done it so much now. We can look at you and see where you need to be touched. Like if someone doesn't want to hum with you, that they need to be held in their sacred. Like there's just certain parts of them that you just have to help push. Yeah. Love. A lot of it is just letting my light be a vessel into your heart,
Right.
or into your head, or into wherever you need it. And I can see that.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful practice. It's easy. You just sit there and breathe.
That's it.
Do in,
You
one
don't have
out.
to talk.
You don't have to talk. You don't even have to really breathe that hard either. I mean, once you kind of hit into it, every time I've done it and I've really like felt it, it's funny. I've always like got enough of it in like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Then I've just been like, oh, okay, I don't need to do this much anymore.
You're a very centered man.
Right.
I felt
that's
that
true.
the moment I walked into the room. I'm like, that dude's got it together. I mean, no pressure, but you've got it pretty figured out.
Yeah, I think I do. I have
you
to
have
question
hard
that
days
reality every now and
too.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it would be very interesting to women that like are having a hard time with men, because there's the single scene I know is freaking rough,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And I can kind of see like, especially women that were in a loving relationship and either lost it, they're widowed or they just got divorced or whatever, right? Like it'd be interesting to have very powerful men come around and like, maybe hold their shoulders for a minute or, like just give them like that exact same touch and just have them feel safe around a man's touch.
I've experienced that. Well, Tyler will help support Michelle sometimes.
True,
And he knew exactly what I needed in those moments when I'm having a thought and he comes with those masculine hands. I'm like, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's people you meet that you just know. My dad's that for me,
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Why do you feel like I'm centered?
Well, I can see it because I have that. But I think you walk into a room with you in it and there's so much love that's just radiating from you.
Yeah.
Like you're talking to the men and you're looking at them. You're not on there's moments probably that you're on your phone, but you genuinely care about humans in general. Like even just at the gym, you're just that big friendly guy that's walking in the gym. It's a feeling. Like energy is such a feeling, and when someone's good.
Yeah.
And you get that vibe. I witness you at the gym with your wife. You're there. You're proud to be with her. I see it when you post a post. You genuinely love the people that are in your arms right there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's 100% true.
And your friends. Like I can bring you up to talk about you. There's nothing negative anyone says.
Yeah.
Like you're leaving a beautiful legacy, and I love that for you and your kids and your wife.
Oh,
I love
thank
your
you.
wife.
Yeah, she's dope.
She's awesome.
I'm really excited to have her on my podcast, actually. We have this whole thing where I'm not going to bring her on. So we were with this group, right? And it was a big group, maybe 12 or 14 people, all couples, right? And they're like, when are you going to have your wife on? We want to hear your wife. And I was like, when her braces are off. And dude, people were like, oh. And I was like, that's not for me. That's for her. I just know her well enough that she does not want to have her braces on when she comes on this podcast.
Yeah.
And people like look at her and she goes, yeah.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Well, you acted like I'm judging her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Poor men.
Yeah.
See, they can't say anything.
You're right. I'll bring her on in 2 seconds. I don't care. But I know
But most men probably would have. That's what we're used to, is men saying like she's ugly or like something that she has a wrinkly face or her hair's weird or so then the men have to take that because you guys did this to us. You guys made us have to go get Botox. You guys made us have to go get plastic surgery.
Yeah, we're all like, what? When?
When did we?
Who did that? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
There should be a they and a who.
Exactly.
Like who are the they?
Yeah.
There should be who are the who.
And we need a picture of them so we can put it up
Right.
and point at them when we're like,
Yeah.
that is the guy.
That's the who.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's funny, man. So I'm super excited to have her on. I think people realize this. We don't prep. You know what I mean? There's no like questions we talk to. Like one of the girls that's going to come on my podcast, she was texting me last night like, well, what questions? Send me some questions you want to do. And I'm just kind of like, okay. I'm going to do it, right? Because I know that she needs it. But like really, it's like, I probably won't even ask you these questions.
Yeah, this was way more comfortable for
Yeah,
me.
we just flow. Just talk about whatever we want.
Yeah.
Flowing
with your homie.
So when you did the We Are the They thing, it was interesting for me. I'm sure you remember this, right? So like 5-6 minutes in, I just sit up.
Yep.
Right. The reason why is because the guy next to me was like kind of, shaking stuff off of him. And he kept on banging into me, right? And it was funny because I sat up and I was actually a little pissed, right? Because I was like, I like to do things 100%. So I wanted to like do this, and like we had never really done it before. So I like wanted to feel what other people felt, right?
Right.
I remember looking down at him and I was like, you need this more than me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You need this more than me. And so then I just kind of sat there and like watched all the guys breathe, and it was super interesting. Like, and then I watched you guys kind of move around, and I was trying to keep my head down and kind of, but observing, you know, because the last thing I wanted to do was disturb anybody,
Right.
you know. And there was a couple moments in there, like when it was funny because I'm like, oh, freak, these two chicks are going to be mad at me because I'm like sitting up in the middle of this room and like, hopefully I'm not distracting anybody. And then I think it was Michelle came over and like held my hands and kind of gave me a smile. I just smiled back. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember all that?
Yeah, I remember going back to you. There's always, not always, but there's usually one man that has an energy force around them that's so great that it, again, back to the vessel, that your vessel in that room of love and light and energy, positive, is what helps us provide for your brothers too.
Yeah.
Like, so I can remember going back to you just to refill. Like, I just need some Mark, and then I can go back to work, you know?
Yeah.
Not that always happens, but you had love in your heart for those men in that room that you wanted to give. And I was able to receive that and give that to them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I also think it's kind of cool for you guys, and it's kind of a privilege for you guys, really, if you want to look at it this way, to hear the sincerity of everyone telling their story after, you know? It's almost like, because a lot of guys just don't open up like that a lot, right? And because of the breath work and you guys facilitating it and creating everything, you know, the container and all the fun words we always say, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're all vulnerable.
Hippie
And,
words.
we got to hit all the fun words. Like you heard some of the most genuine thoughts and feelings and advice and fears and love, like one after another, like rapid fire almost, you know? And it was funny. I remember standing up there and I went to grab the mic, and I think it was Michelle goes, "Are you Mark?" And I was like, "Yep, here we go." You know, I don't know. It's just funny because it's like 50 guys, right? Like 55 guys. We're all so connected, and like we all know each other really, really well. And there's different variables of that, right? But like, you know, my friend Matt, you know, stood up and told a story about him during the breathwork. He felt like he was getting buried, and he had to actually crawl out of like his hole, his 6 foot deep hole. As he came up, you know, he saw his wife, his kids, and then me, and then some other friends, right? Yeah. I remember him sharing that story, and I just felt so honored to like be part of his life, you know?
It's a legacy.
And dude, like, it's amazing. Like every single day, like our group gets tighter and tighter and tighter. We interact all the time in like odd ways, you know, like Marco Polo a lot, or I actually have guys over to my house a lot, and we do cigar nights and
poker.
We do poker every now and again. Yeah, I guess the other night, we did poker and
basketball.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. That's what men need.
It's amazing.
Men need that. Just the brothers together like that.
What stuck out to you when the men were speaking? Do you remember anything specific?
I share that story. I don't put a name to it, but I do share that story because for me, men need to close the chapter and open it up and know that there's more chapters to your book. There's more chapters. What you did in high school, what you did in your 20s, 30s, it's not defining you. Like, that's not who you are. If you can step back and observe the anxiety or the depression, it's not who you are. Just create a bigger container that through breath or whatever modality helps you, that allows you to know that you're not anxiety. It's a feeling you're feeling that you get to move through and witness, but it's not who you are.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
You know,
the last time we did cigars in my house with a couple of guys, and not everyone smokes, so we just something to do. We sit around the campfire, really, is what we do, right? And we were talking about anxiety. One of the guys was a doctor. One of the guys is another leader in the first men's group, right? And then a couple other guys there, right? They were just our friends, you know. And we got into this thing of anxiety, and I don't know, I just said it because I've been thinking this for a while. I go, anxiety is just in your head. And the doctor was kind of like, well, and I'm like, I'm telling you, dude, like, I get that it causes a physiological response in you, right? I'm not saying it's not real by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm saying, though, is it's actually in your head. Like, every time you have anxiety and then you fight through it and then you look back, like a roller coaster is a perfect example, right? You get strapped in this thing, the whole thing. You look over, you realize it's a 15-year-old hitting the red button. You're like, what have I done? You know, you get a little bit of anxiety, right? You're like, I haven't been on this thing. What's this like? Am I going to throw up? You know, like, and I think, and it's funny once you realize everyone's thinking that, not just you, if it's their first time, right? So then you go through the whole thing, then, you know, it's fun, it's exciting, you know, you get a little thrill and you get off of it. And then like, if you go back on that thing, you have no anxiety.
Right.
Because you're going to go through it again.
You know what it is.
And when you look back, you're like, yeah, I just made this up. I made a story up. I made this, like, I was living in the future, right?
Yep.
I was living with what's going to happen, all these things, blah, 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 instead of just being like super, super present. And I think the best way to kick anxiety out is to just be present.
Yep.
Because you're not worrying about the past because it doesn't matter.
Nope.
It really doesn't.
Nope.
And then the future doesn't really matter either. You know, there's a study that says only 4% of what you worry about actually comes. And it's like,
It's true. If we can tap, and that's what's beautiful about breath and somatics, you can get out of the mental mind and back into the heart and embodied in who you truly are, then this stuff is just chaos. Like, get it out of there.
yeah,
Like
and you
you're
can deal with
observing
life.
anxiety. I'm observing depression. And then it creates space that you get to see what is actually creating this that I'm witnessing in my head.
Yeah.
And get back to the heart and like the actual trigger. Maybe it's something that happened as a kid and those are called protectors in somatics. Like what's protecting you in this situation? Is it something that happened as a child or young adult that's now protecting you as an adult? That's not, we don't need that protector, but it's there and we have to get it out.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's just, I don't know, what a funny thing, right?
It is.
It's amazing how powerful your mind is. You know, I talk a lot about perception and how everyone, to me, your ego is just how you interact with the world, right? Ego's not good or bad. It's not evil. It's not good. It's not, I mean, it just is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I think when people understand how your mind really works with that, you know, like some people get anxiety before they meet new people. And it's like, well, why do you do this? And you got to back that up, right? Well, it's like, well, there was one time when I got embarrassed and it's like, so what? You know, and then once you know, every time people do journeys or even breath work or yoga or meditation, right? If you always take something that doesn't serve you and leave it, you know, you will start eliminating every single time you have anxiety.
100%.
You know, that's just like kind of what it is.
Yep.
Then you start kind of rolling through life with a little bit more confidence, right?
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, if bad stuff happens, I can deal with it. You know, like I don't need to worry about my whole world crashing down, you know, and, you know, I can be there for other people because I can walk through the fire with them kind of things.
Right. And what if that bad thing doesn't happen and it opens up this incredible opportunity for something else?
Right. Yeah.
I call that story monsters with my kids. I'm like, are you creating a story monster? Because it sounds like it. Like, and they get it. Like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you a couple of final questions on our podcast. We're almost done. Can you believe that?
No.
What's the most important thing to you?
Leaving a legacy of love. I want every person that I ever come across to know how loved they are and needed in this world, no matter what they've done.
Why did you choose that?
Because the world needs it. The world needs it.
Yeah.
And it feels better. Life is just more enjoyable when there's love in it.
Yeah.
Like if you do something wrong, but you know someone's coming at you in a loving space, you know you're still loved even though you did something bad.
Yeah.
And you can get through it and make better decisions before. Love's going to get you through that hard time.
Yeah.
If you know that you're loved and enough, you know this bad thing is just a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. So what are you most looking forward to?
Growing this thing with Michelle.
Awesome.
Yep. I graduate from my somatics course. And I say somatics, people don't know really what somatics is. They're like, that makes sense to you. But so she'll open up with breath and then I'll be able to do one-on-ones with people. Things come up that they don't want to share in a room. So being able to hold space for someone through Zoom or in person, one-on-one, that we can get to that piece of you that's protecting you or still hurting you or causing anxiety. That's the piece that will be there. And then corporate wellness is really important to me. Coming from the corporate world, I believe you can retain so many more employees if your employees are happy, and it starts in the mind. If it feels good to go to work and they're supporting you at home, work with your kids, knowing that they're there, like corporate wellness is going to be our jam. So we'll go in, speak, do a light breath, and then come out of that, do maybe a retreat, something like that. We're building it, and it's going to be beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, no, I love that.
Beautiful.
So final question. What's your best 2 minutes of advice?
2 minutes of advice. I would have to say being present. Put your phones down and really connect with humans. human level. Like we're all these beautiful souls put in these big meat suits that are here, like walking each other home, right? And knowing that, like, we couldn't eat chocolate or do all the things if we're a soul without a body. So we need these physical bodies to love, take care of, so that we can experience. So take care of your mind, your body, all the things. Yeah, and just be present. Like when someone's talking to you, look them in the eyes and know that they need you in that moment. Like everyone needs you in that moment, and they're there for a purpose.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to speak for all men and all the guys that you're helping with this stuff. Like, we love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening that up for us. And, anyone listening to this podcast, obviously follow you on Instagram and they can find you guys and come to some of these events.
Yeah, I love you guys a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.